next. Matt?
Tonight we continue our special report, The Map, Segregated Syracuse. A CNY Central investigation reveals the impact of a 100-year-old map. The map of 1919 is the first known government record that separated our city into neighborhoods with ethnic labels, like Italian, Irish, Jewish, or Negro. During the Great Depression that followed, this map was a precursor to new government-drawn maps that redlined neighborhoods around Syracuse. Official documents included offensive descriptions of the people of our city. Our special series continues, The Map, Segregated Syracuse. Syracuse, a city of familiar landmarks dating back a century, ethnic neighborhoods that welcomed immigrants, and a mix of cultures and faiths for generations. These roots of these communities' strengths are spelled out on the map of 1919, but so is the division, including redlining by race.
So that map explains my childhood.
Natasha Alford is a nationally known journalist with the Griot. Before excelling at Harvard and Northwestern, she grew up in Syracuse. Her father raised in the Pioneer Homes projects. Is there any surprise in seeing those official labels put on there, an official document to you, having grown up here and being in the world of journalism from the perspective you have now?
No, there's no surprise at all. I mean, I think the intention had quite a legacy, right? And I look at that map and I see the explanation for why my childhood was what it was. And, you know, the same for my father and so many other generations of families in Syracuse.
For decades, the map of 1919 sat undisturbed in the National Archives. I uncovered it last summer and began to investigate its impact. It's an undeniable link to the boundaries of the city, first formed a century ago. The city engineer color-coded the map green and blue for wealthier neighborhoods, yellow for tradesmen and unskilled labor. Capital letters spelled out recent immigrant groups, Polish, Irish, Jewish, and Negro. The map of 1919 is the first known city-sanctioned document associating African Americans with redlining.
Once the Federal Housing Authority is, created in 1934 as part of the New Deal to bring affordable housing, right? These processes are already in play in a lot of municipalities, so they're essentially ramped up at the federal level. So you can really see sort of the evolution of the process that we call redlining. And again, red stands out on a map, so it's stark to the eye. It's very easy to pick up on.
Federal housing and lending programs in the 1930s under FDR mapped every major city in America in the color code we first saw years before. The official file on each neighborhood includes harsh, at times offensive descriptions of the housing stock and the people who live there. The landmark Sacred Heart steeples welcomed generations of Polish Catholics. The federal government referred to them as, quote, an infiltration of less desirables. The homes were in poor condition, with Polish families of low income. Just up the road, a nicer section, Tipperary Hill, not yet solely Irish. But objectionable odors are carried into the neighborhood from steel mills and chemical plants. That warrants only a second-class rating, still tough to get a mortgage.
The federal government took this as an opportunity to discourage immigration, tamp down Catholic voting blocks, which they felt tended to vote as per the direction of the church hierarchy, and to kind of sanitize their neighborhoods. The neighborhoods that were all immigrant or all minority, well, they were not going to get much benefit from this sort of new concept of what it means to live in an American metropolitan area.
No mortgages were originated in redlined areas where black families lived. Map section D5. Jewish and Negro families lived there. Their neighborhood described as undesirable both as to improvements and class of occupant. Even further down the line, the domestics and laborers living in the all-black neighborhood near Fayette. The documented description, quote, a colored slum section occupied by the lowest type of colored race. That's right where the city engineer wrote Negro on the red lines of the map of 1919. How did that then impact, as the years went on, decades went on, the disparity in wealth between groups?
Well, it had a huge impact. It's the central factor.
A gap still felt today, even by the younger generation who managed to succeed despite the disadvantages of segregation. Would you say that we have a segregated community still?
Syracuse does have a segregated community still. Every time I come home, I see it. You know, we live it. We live in a Black neighborhood, and we know where the lines are and where it changes. And this is in the year 2020.
Natasha excelled in school at Nottingham High School, but even as a student on a path to the Ivy League, she was well aware of the struggle being felt by her Black classmates in the Syracuse school system. Also important to note, the same time lending was not happening inside redlined neighborhoods, outer neighborhoods of Syracuse, and then later the suburbs were growing with explicit policies to keep out African American families. We'll have more reporting to come on The Map.